In this lecture, we're going to be looking at a few other operations you can do on your stdstring. We are basically going to look at replacing, copying, resizing, and swapping, and we're going to see how this can actually work, and you're going to see that it is easy now that you have tons of knowledge about stdstring. Let's start by replacing stuff. Here we have an example, and what we want is to go in string1, str1 here, and replace this finding text with searching for. We are going to use our replace behavior on our stdstring type, and we are going to say we want to replace the characters from index 0 through 7. So if we count in str1 here, we're going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including the space. That's going to select the finding text here, or the finding world, and we're going to replace that with what we have in str12 here. So instead of saying finding Nemo, we're going to say searching for Nemo. And if we print this out, that's what we're going to see. And this is how you can use this, and hopefully you can see that this may come in handy in many situations where you have text you are manipulating, replacing stuff, and things like that. This behavior also has other versions. For example, we can replace part of an std string with part of the other std string. What do we mean here? We have str2 here. It is saying finding Nemo, and we want to replace that with part of str3. So we are going to go in str3, hunt for the world or the worlds searching for with the space. We're going to hunt for them. We're going to find the starting index. We're going to find how many characters we need to go over. And we are going to replace that with finding in str2 here. So we are going to basically say the same thing we said in the last slide. We're going to go from 0 to 7 in str2, hunting for finding. And we are going to basically hunt for what we're going to replace that with. And that's going to be something that starts at index 34 in str3. If you go over this, you're going to see that this guy, S, is at index 33, and we're going to go for 13 characters. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And if we print this out, you're going to see that it's going to be searching for Nemo. So you can do something like this. If you want to see other versions of this behavior here, you can go on the documentation page here, and you're going to find all of them, and you're going to look at what they can do. But it is what we have seen. It is just variations of what you can replace stuff with. We can also copy from an std string and paste into a character array. So what can we do here? Here we have a string called str4, and we set up a character array called txt4. We're going to print them out and the size information to see what is in there. But the meat of this slide is here on str4, where we say we want to copy from this particular string we are calling copy on, and we want to paste into txt4. And how do I know how this works? It is basically from the documentation, and sometimes these parameters that we have in the functions are confusing. You have to play with things a little bit to figure out how they work. But once you do that, you're going to understand. So here we are basically saying we want to copy from this string starting from index 9 and going 11 characters, and we're going to grab that and paste that into txt4. And if you look in the syntax here, you're going to see that the last parameter, which is position here, this is the index, and the second parameter here, count, is how many characters you're going to go. So what we're going to do is go to index 9 in str4 here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to grab this K here. And from here, we're going to go 11 characters. That's what we say here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're going to grab that and store in txt4. And if by this point we print txt4, we're going to get Kilimanjaro printed out on our console. Pretty cool, right? You can also resize up a string and fill it with zeros. And for example, here we have str5. It has 5 characters inside, but here down you see that we are resizing it to 8 characters. What this is going to do, it's going to make it have a size of 8, and the remaining slots that don't have valid data in are going to be autofilled with null characters. A null character is basically a version of 0 for characters, and it is what we're going to use to autofill our string here. If we print str5, we're not going to really see this because a null character, you can't see it. But if we loop ourselves like this and try to print each character, we're going to see that we have actually a size of 8. The characters are in there, we just can't print them and see them because the null character is not printable. You can't print and see it, but it's going to occupy space in your string here. This is what we mean. So it is possible to resize stuff like this if it makes sense for whatever application you are designing. If you really want to see this autofill character, you can specify it. For example, here we have a version of resize that is going to take a second parameter, and you can specify what character is going to be your autofill character. And if you do things like this, you're going to see it printed on the console. And we're going to see that in a minute when we hit Visual Studio Code. We can also resize down, so if our string has a lot of things that we don't need, we can shrink it and make it have exactly the size that we want. And the rest is going to be basically wiped out. Okay, this is how you do it. You can say str5 and say resize, and you pass in whatever size that you want, which happens to be not larger than the current size we have in this string here. And if we print this out, we're going to see that the size is going to update, but the capacity is not going to change. The last thing we're going to see in this slide is swapping. You can swap strings. How cool is that? We can have two strings here, str_A and str_B. In A, we have a message. In B, we have a slightly larger piece of text. And we're going to print information before we swap. We're going to print the strings. We're going to print their sizes and their capacities. And then we're going to swap. And if we print after we swap, we're going to see that these guys have been swapped. The text we had in A is now in B. The text we had in B is now in A. And the sizes and capacities have been updated accordingly. This is how this is going to work. And you can assume that this is going to do this very efficiently. It is probably going to swap the pointers pointing to the character arrays. It's not going to loop around and copy element by element. And we have seen that that can be a really bad way to do things. But I am not sure. I haven't checked how stdstring does this, but I am just guessing here. So this is really all I want to share with you in terms of the operations you can do on your stdstring. We are going to hop over to Visual Studio Code and play with us. Here we are in our working folder. The current project is replacing, copying, resizing, and swapping here, 15, 13. So we're going to grab it and put in our template files. Let's do that, 15, 13 here. Let's put that in. And we are going to open this in Visual Studio Code and include our string library, which is what we always do in this chapter. Let's do that. The first thing we're going to see is that we can replace stuff. So this is going to be very easy. We're going to have two strings, str1 and str2 here, str12. You can call it whatever you want. And we want to take this text in str1 and replace that with searching for. So we're going to use the replace behavior on our std string type, and we are going to be able to target it by specifying the index here, which is a 0, and specifying how many characters we are going to go starting from the index here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to select this guy here. So after we have that, we're going to replace that with whatever we have in str12, which is searching for. And if we print str1 after that, we're going to see that we're going to say searching for Nemo. So this is one thing you can do with this replace behavior on our std string. Let's bring up a terminal and try to build and run this. We are going to build with GCC. We are going to clear the build is good, and we're going to run Rooster. We're going to see that for the first time, we're going to say finding Nemo. For the second time, we're going to say searching for Nemo. We have successfully replaced this piece of text with another piece of text coming from another string. And this is really cool. So we can comment this out and see other examples. We have many to see in this lecture. So another example we're going to see is that we can actually replace in part of another string, not the entire string like we did in the last example here. Here we have str2 saying finding Nemo. str3 is going to have a larger piece of text, and inside we're going to have the searching for text that we want. We can hunt for it and use that to replace finding in str2. The way we do that, we say replace, we say the index where we want to replace stuff in the current string, which is str2, and we're going to hunt for our text in the other string. We're going to specify the index where we want to start. It's going to be index 34. If you count, you're going to see that it's right. We're going to specify how many characters we want to go from this index. So we want to go 13 characters starting from S. We're going to count 13 characters. That's going to be 13 characters. And we're going to replace this thing here with finding in str2. And if we do that, you're going to see that now str2 is going to say searching for Nemo. Let's try and build. We are going to use GCC, and we are going to clear and run Rooster. And you see that we are finding Nemo in the first version of str2. After we change it by replacing in other stuff, it's going to say searching for Nemo. And this is really cool. We are going to comment this out as well. Let's do that. We can also copy stuff. So here is a simple example to show us how we can copy. We're going to look at the version of this behavior that copies into a character array. We're going to set up the character array txt4, and we're going to give it a size with length is enough for whatever we want to paste in. In this case, we want to paste Kilimanjaro from str4, and we are going to target it. So we're going to say we want to copy from this string. This is what we are saying here. We want what we copy to be pasted into txt4, which happens to be a character array. And what we want to copy starts from index 9, and from index 9 we're going to go 11 characters. That's what we mean here. So we're going to start from index 9 in our string, std string I should say. If we go index 9, we're going to target this k. From this k we're going to go 11 characters. We're going to select this entire Kilimanjaro thing, and this behavior is going to paste this into this txt4 character array. And if we print txt4, we expect to see a Kilimanjaro in. And you have to be sure that this guy is modifiable. If it is a const char array, you won't be able to paste in stuff because you won't be able to modify it. Let's try and build and see that we have in what we expect. We are going to clear, and run Rooster. You're going to see that txt4 was empty. We are copying, and now it's going to contain Kilimanjaro. This is what we expect. What if we take this txt4 character array and make it an array of const char? Let's see what happens. We expect to get a pair of squiggly lines when we copy like this. And this is not going to work because this guy takes a modifiable array. Okay, so you can't use a character array which is not modifiable because copy is basically going to modify stuff in this character array here. I hope this makes sense. So we can take out this const. Build again to make sure we are going to build. Alright, the build is cool, so we can clear this and run Rooster, and we're going to have our text in here. So this is cool. We are copying, and we can comment this out. We still have a few examples to go in this lecture, so this is going to go here. We are copying. The next example we're going to see is that we can resize our std string. Here we have hello, for example. We have 5 characters inside here. So if we get the size of this guy, we should get a 5. That's what we're going to print on this line here. And we're going to print its capacity just to show you that the resize method here, or the resize behavior, is not going to change the capacity. We also show you that if you print the null character, you're not going to see anything. That is just for your information. And we are going to do the meat of this example on this line here. We are going to say str5 resize to 8, and we are basically going to add 3 slots to make the size of this string 8, and those slots are going to be autofilled with the null character. So if we print that, we're not really going to see it because null characters are not visible when you print them, but they are there. So we can show that the size has at least changed to 8. And if we loop like this, We're going to print each character in each slot, and we're going to see that for the first 5 characters, we're going to see hello, and for the last 3 slots, we're going to see empty characters. Let's try and build this and see that this is actually the case. We're going to bring this up a little bit. We are going to clear and run rooster. We are going to start by printing the null character, which is going to be empty. We're going to say hello, the size is 5, capacity is 15. If we start resizing, we're going to print hello again. You see, if we try to print the resized string, we're not going to get these null character printed because they are not printable. If you print them, you're not going to see them. But the size has actually changed to 8 and the capacity hasn't changed. If we print through the loop, we're going to see that we get hello, and the last 3 slots are not printable because they contain null characters. Okay, this is how you can use the resize behavior here if it happens to make sense in whatever application we are building with C++. Okay, it is also possible to resize and specify the autofill character, and for that you're going to use another version of resize, and let's say that here we're going to do it in one go. So we're going to go down here and say str5, and we're going to say resize, and we're going to resize this to 10 and specify the autofill character to be a star here. Okay, this is going to work. And if we go down now and print the information on this guy, we can print that. We are going to grab the text here. I think this is going to be enough. We're going to get the string itself. We're going to get the size and the capacity printed out. And we're going to say what we want to do here on stdcout so that we can follow it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do here. We're going to build this. Let's use a GCC. The build is going to be good. If we clear and run rooster, we're going to see that we have resized, and you see that we have 2 more stars here. We have resized this thing to 10 characters, and the size now is 10 because that's what we have. We have 10 characters in our string here, and we see them here. We can also resize down, so let's copy this and say that we can resize down. We're going to go down and say that, and we're going to say resize down. Okay, now we have a size of 10. We're going to shrink this and make it have 5 characters because those are really the useful characters in this string here. So we're going to resize to 5, and we say it by just saying the size you want, and you're going to print it out. If we print this out, we're going to get hello printed out. The size is going to be 5, and the capacity is not going to change. Let's say what we want to do here, resize down, that's what we are doing. And if we build, we're going to see that it's going to have 5 characters inside. The build is actually good, so we're going to clear and run rooster. We're going to get what we expect. We have resize down, and we have hello inside, and the size is a 5. So this is how we can use the resize behavior to resize your std strings. We are going to comment this down because I want to show you that you can also swap std strings, which is pretty cool. So let's do that. We're going to comment all this block out. We can also swap the text we have in our std strings. We have 2 strings here, str_a, which is going to contain this text, and str_b, which is going to contain this larger piece of text. We can print the situation before we swap, and the way we swap, we're going to say str_a swap with str_b. This is going to swap up these strings, and what we had in A is going to show up in B, what we had in B is going to show up in A, and the sizes and capacities are going to also be swapped accordingly. I don't think there is a lot to say about this, so we're just going to build and see the output when we run this in our terminal. The build is good, so we're going to clear and run rooster. First, we're going to say str_a is this guy here, str_b is this larger piece of text. After we swap, we're going to see that str_a is now larger and str_b is the other guy. And you're going to see that the sizes and capacities are also going to be swapped. In A, the size was 28, now it is 73. The capacity is also 28, and you see that they have been swapped. And this is how you can really use this behavior from std string. This is really all we set out to do in this lecture. I hope you found it interesting. Hopefully you can see that there are all kinds of crazy operations you can do on std string to really achieve what you want. We are going to stop here in this lecture. In the next one, we're going to see how we can search for stuff in stdstring. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.